Welcome to the cityCURRENT conversation. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, Director of Digital Media here at cityCURRENT. And today we're talking with Keith Fulcher, the president of Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi. And what he's going to be talking about today is their efforts to feed Northwest Mississippi, their 11 county region, and how they're working with organizations like the Maddox Foundation and the Walton Family Foundation to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to feed thousands across our region, and how you can get involved as well. So let's get started.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So I'll just give you a quick history. Tom Pittman just retired April 1 as our president. So before he retired, of course, the pandemic hit. So we sat around as a staff and we talked about, this is about March 12th, March 16th, and we talked about what would be our response to the pandemic if we had to shut the doors and shelter in place as we had been hearing about. So as a staff, we decided that food insecurity has been a platform of the Community Foundation for the last several years. There was a hunger task force that the Community Foundation helped spearhead in 2017. And I just learned today, even as early as 2013, Wayne Bartley and others were involved in an organization called 4 Rivers, I believe is the name of it. And it was dealing with food insecurity in the DeSoto County area. So when it became evident that we would no longer be working in the office, our approach was to ramp up what the food pantries were able to provide. We knew that children were our first and top priority. Schools at that time were providing the meals. Children could go to the schools, get a hot meal, breakfast and lunch. So once we realized that some schools were not providing meals, some were shutting down due to whatever factors, that necessitated our larger effort to work with food pantries within our 11 county areas. So that we started what we called FEED, and that's capital FEED, Feed Northwest Mississippi. And we launched a fundraising effort, the primary goal of each week providing monetary support to food pantries.
So talk about the Feed Fund and its purpose, and then who are some of the major stakeholders that are helping you fund the food pantries?
Yeah, so just one of the things that we learned from a 2017 report from Feed America was that in our 11 county area that we serve, Community Foundation Northwest Mississippi, we serve 11 counties. There are 25,000 children who were classified as food insecure. I'll give you an example. In Quitman County, there is not a grocery store in the entire county. Wow. And so children not having access to food, not having transportation, the hunger that we knew will exist is what precipitated us starting the Feed Northwest Mississippi Fund. So we launched it on March 19th and invited donors. It was primarily through a press release to the newspaper, social media. We invited donors to support and designate a gift to their county. So in the first 4 days, we raised $7,000. So we were pretty pleased with that. So then Tom visited with Robin Hurdle at the Maddox Foundation. And Tom boldly asked Robin, would the Maddox Foundation consider a matching gift? Robin readily agreed. She asked Tom, how much do you think each of the 11 counties would need? Tom said, how about 2,500? That would be 5,000 per county. So our phase 1 fundraising goal was $27,500. So I'm pleased to report that we met that in about 10 working days. We met that. So Tom went back to Robin, and Robin announced a phase 2, a second $27,500. And in about a week, we met that. So $55,000 has been raised from donors, with the Maddox Foundation doubling that to $110,000. So that was about a week ago. As of this past week, we've donated $72,000 to about 40 different food pantries and nonprofits in our 11 county region. And we've donated to every single county. Every county has received a grant to a food pantry supplying food to those who are hungry.
That's great. And I know the Maddox Foundation has been really close friends with the Community Foundation in Northwest Mississippi, and just being a catalyst to grant so many organizations and projects across the 11 county region. So I think that's wonderful. So what are some of the area food pantries, or what are some of the individuals saying about these efforts? Are there any stories of impact so far that you've heard?
Well, I have to say that I love money because money solves a lot of problems. So let me just make sure that you be the first one to announce on the air that the Walton Foundation, Tom Pittman sent a request to his friends at the Walton Foundation. And of course, we couldn't do without Tom Pittman. And he is, although he's semi-retired, he's taken a 6-month sabbatical. So I talk to him about every day. He's supposed to be out of pocket, but I talk to him every day, and I'll ask him, how's that coronavirus sabbatical going? Because I think he's working harder now than he ever has been. But Tom contacted his friends at the Walton Foundation. So Andrew, if you don't mind being the first one to announce publicly that the Walton Foundation has made a grant to the Community Foundation of $100,000, all for our feed program.
Wow.
And our goal is to match that. So if you combine their Walton's 100 with the Maddox 55,000, that's $155,000 for us to match, giving us $310,000 to give away. And 100%, we're not keeping a dime for administration. We're not keeping a dime overhead. We have a donor who's covering credit card fees, which can be pretty significant. We had a donor who made a $5,000 credit card gift, and the fee was $110. I would have gone to pick up the check.
Right.
Save $110, because a meal, according to we're working with the Mid-South Food Bank out of Memphis and the Mississippi Food Network out of Jackson, our primary two contacts. A meal will cost $3. So that $110 I could have saved on credit card fees would have provided over 30 something meals for individuals. $3 a meal is what the average is from these food pantries. So very economical. So ask me your question again, Andrew.
Yeah, so I want to, I know that you sent over this beautiful document that's really documenting for historic purposes, but also just to be a transparent, a working community foundation. There's some great information about some of the food pantry recipients. And so I was just wondering if you've heard of some people that are able to eat now because of your efforts.
Yes, and let me give you an example. I just go back to the school systems, and I've worked in the school system as a junior high principal before, so I know some of the challenges. Some of the school systems have stopped serving meals to children. For example, in West Bolivar, that's Rosedale, Shaw, some of the very rural areas in Bolivar County. Schools have it's up and down. Greenwood, same thing, LaFleur County, up and down whether they can serve or not, depending on whatever factors. So we found a nonprofit in Rosedale, the Rosedale Freedom Project, Jeremiah Smith. They were doing after-school tutoring for children, helping prepare them for college. And Jeremiah agreed to accept food purchased through us from the Mississippi Food Network, and he delivered it to 100 families in the Pace, Rosedale, Gunnison area. That's along the river, Mississippi River in Bolivar County. Same thing in Shaw. We found a nonprofit, Delta Hands for Hope, and they delivered 100 boxes of food to families, especially families with children. So if not for just those two organizations, and the boxes are 2 weeks supply of food. And when I say food, I mean, I'm just learning the business. It's supplementary food, potatoes, corn, rice, mac and cheese. It's things that really supplement their diet. Mm-hmm. It's not full scale meals. So our goal is to keep at least keep those two entities supplied, if not once a week, once every 2 weeks, because the need is so great, especially in the rural areas of our 11 counties that we're dealing with. So every one of our employees, Brenda Smith, she's responsible for 3 counties. Kara Dulaney, she's been assigned counties in our 11 county area. Stacy Trout has been assigned counties. I've been assigned Bolivar and Sunflower. So between the 5 of us, we're doing everything we can to scrub every county and to find any and all partners who will get food to those who are hungry. So just this morning, we were talking about how do we get to know the parks and recreation directors in each city? How do we get to know the sheriffs, the fire department, the Mississippi State Extension Office, the North Delta Planning, South Delta Planning? How do we get to know the mayors, anybody and everybody who has some access to getting food, especially to households with children?
How can the community get involved to help your efforts?
Well, good point about the children. So that's our effort, is to uncover those nonprofits who were previously working with children and to help them ramp up, if possible, the opportunity to feed children, even if it's snacks. For example, Bill Clay in Greenwood, Mississippi, the Greenwood Mentoring Program. You can look at his Facebook page. Every day children come by for a grab and go snack. They have even set up a hand washing station outside the building where they can wash their hands before they come in. They have a grab and go brown paper sack snack, and they're also giving them a coronavirus relief package that contains hand sanitizer, mask, and gloves. So that's the next part of our effort, is to provide supplies that the food pantries need and that the children need to keep them safe. We're also looking at buying freezers. We're hearing that there is USDA frozen foods available, but many of the food pantries have not had access to freezers. So that's part of our effort, is to purchase freezers that would then increase the amount of food supply. So in the Giving Tuesday is wonderful. We consider every day Giving Tuesday. There's not a day or moment that we cannot accept a gift. We've had gifts from 10 different states: Texas, California, New York, Boston. We've had them from every county that we serve. We've had them from Oxford, well outside of our service area. So a person can make a gift by check and mail. We have someone at the office accepting, checking the mail and depositing checks. Given online is easy enough to do, cfnm.org. We have a donate button, and a person can designate which county that they want it to go to, or they can say, use it for the area of greatest need. A gift of stock, we can accept gifts of stock. IRA rollover, we do IRA rollovers if you're over 70 and a half. We've had 2 individuals who have given us part of their CARE Act stimulus check. So if there are individuals out there that don't need the stimulus check, we would gladly accept that on behalf of the children.
That's great. And looking at this document you sent over, Mississippi ranks second highest in percentage of child food insecurity, and that's from a 2016 fiscal year study from Feeding America. So the need is great in our area, and I think the sort of balance of Mississippi is that we're such a giving state, but we're also a state that needs a lot of help from each other. So we count on each other, and we count on the nonprofits in our region to give back. I know last week I was at Heartland Hands in South Haven, and I mean, there were people working away, giving boxes, and there were cars lined up against the street. I mean, there are people that are really hurting right now, but thankfully, because of work like this, you're able to feed thousands. So what do you hope? Hopefully this, isn't something that is going to be needed long term, obviously, and hopefully that this is something that can transition out. I think that's a success point when you know that you're able to sort of go back to the normal functionalities of the community foundation. But how long do you see this happening, and how are there any other organizations that you'd like to highlight that are receiving these efforts that that we can maybe virtually volunteer or spread the message on social media?
Yeah, good point, Andrew. Because we've been talking to the professionals about what does the long term look like. Here's our fear, and this is what we're learning from some of the professionals, that right now a person cannot be evicted from their home for not paying rent, right? You can't lose your house for not paying your mortgage. But what we're hearing is that once those evictions start, which are almost inevitable, that's when the crisis will begin, the major crisis for food. Not only food, but social services. You know, rising cases of maybe child abuse, child abandonment, you know, the desperation with losing jobs, 4,000 employees out of jobs in Tunica County due to the casinos. And we just see that the crisis, this pandemic crisis, could get worse. So we're in it for the long haul. And so we're ramping up for phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 is feeding. Once we raise the $310,000, we'll spread that out over 12 weeks, which will get us into the summer months. So we think we're okay on that. Still not enough, but we're touching as many as we can. Phase 3 of our effort will be to ramp up the operational budget of the nonprofits who are out there serving the needs of children. Because those nonprofits, the frontline nonprofits like We Together in Drew, Mississippi, like Helping Hands that you mentioned, like Healing Hearts that we honored at Crystal Ball. Those are the frontline social service nonprofits meeting the day-to-day needs. And so we're ready to branch out into just about any area, whether it's hunger, housing, child neglect, any area we're willing to branch out into as a community foundation of Northwest Mississippi.
That's great. And where can people learn more? Where can people donate? Where can people spread the message of Feed Northwest Mississippi and help raise that money?
Well, if they want to see their money in action, YouTube, go to our YouTube channel. There are about 12 videos on our YouTube channel from DeSoto County. I videoed the Interfaith Food Pantry in Hernando just last Friday. And there's about just a 1-minute video. There are about a dozen videos around our 11 county areas of agencies and entities that we've helped. So you can see your money in action. If you've never seen what's called a mobile food pantry, watch the video from Clarksdale, Mississippi. Now, we did not fund it, but a donor from Memphis who grew up in Clarksdale, Larry Magdovitz, funded a mobile food pantry in Clarksdale that fed 600 families. 600 families. Now, that mobile food pantry, fresh meat, fresh vegetables, canned goods, pineapples. I mean, these were full meals. I suspect that would cost about $5,000. That's all to feed 600 families. So you can see your money in action just by going to our YouTube channel. You can visit us on Facebook and see the Community Foundation on Facebook to see other work that we're doing. Making a gift. Right now, we're set up on our CFNM.org under the donate button for accepting credit card gifts. Or you can put my cell phone number up, Andrew. A donor can feel free to call me, 662-719-1732. I've got a senior in high school, a 10th grader and an 8th grader. They're all home. So my senior sits across in the chair next to me while I'm doing my work. He's working on his schoolwork. And the other day he said, "Daddy," he said, "you're just like Scrooge." And I said, "Christian, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm like Scrooge?" He said, "Well, you know how Scrooge worked day and night to make money?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you work day and night to give money away." And I just smiled. And I smiled. And I said, "Well, thank you, Christian. I'm glad you recognize that." So that's one of the benefits, that my personal benefit out of working at home, is that my children get to see and hear. My son, John, he's 10th grade. He's been with me to food pantries to make deliveries. So, they actually see our charitable work in action. And that's what we want everyone to know when we come out of this, however long that is. We want them to see that the charitable work of the Community Foundation in action every day, even if there's not a worldwide crisis. That we're working every single day in some way. So that's, hopefully, Andrew, that message gets out there, and we sure do appreciate everything you've done and cityCURRENT is doing to get that message out.
Well, as you can see, the Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi is doing some incredible work to feed Northwest Mississippi across their 11-county region. If you want to make an impact and help feed our families and our neighbors, you can go to CFNM.org. Thank you to the Maddox Foundation, the Walton Family Foundation, and Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi, as well as the many dozens of nonprofits and food pantries across our region that are making a difference.